We're going to talk about a creator that I've actually already talked about on this channel because a lot of new information came out and there is allegations that a new artist that claims they don't support generative AI is actually one of the scammers we've covered before. Let's delve into the situation of Delilah Monroe or possibly POV Rabby. And just ignore my hair. It's one of those days where like it looks bad, so I tried styling it, and then the more I styled it, the worse it got. So yeah, we don't talk about it. So Delilah is a creator that I actually talked about in this video, which I will link down below. Where essentially a huge TLDR is that Delilah was doing artwork for a bunch of authors and people felt like the art had AI in it or was AI assisted in some way. Delilah insists obviously that they didn't do it because that's what she's gonna say. This is examples of the artwork that Delilah would make. Delilah went and uploaded a couple marker drawings and some simpler speed paints where you see a much more simpler version of artwork they done. And they're like, yep, this is me. This is the artwork that I do. And people weren't fully believing it, myself included, because speed paints don't necessarily disprove the fact that you've used generative AI in your art process, because mainly the speed paints that Delilah was showing wasn't up to the full rendering quality that Delilah was delivering other artists. Basically because the speed paints were a lot simpler than the artwork Delilah was giving to people as commissions. And then there was a big old call out that was made. People looked in the background and they were like, wait, it looks like a lot of AI backgrounds. You can draw hair like this, but your speed paint isn't matching up. You've got drawings that look like this, where it's fully rendered, but then you couldn't blend the pink hair in any better. The general conclusion of the public is that Delilah used AI assistants in their artwork, but that they do have hands and they can draw when push comes to shove. And then a post came out that cracked everything open. And this is where the second artist, POV Rabby, gets dragged into this situation. So this post is made by user Nalo Arts, who also called out Delilah actually, and Nalo did a lot of research. Nalo writes, hold on, Delilah Monroe has a main account in which she poses as a real artist called POV.Rabby. Let's talk about that. These are Rabby's two accounts, and they claim to be a mother and an artist, an art teacher, and somebody who helps others sell their art online. This is, by the way, again, this was Delilah's profile. The profile is now white. Heavy emphasis, it says, I don't condone harassment or bullying to any party involved. Please just share for awareness. So basically it highlights Rabby fronts as a real artist, and Rabby was actually up in Nalo's DMs. Nalo is an artist as well, but they also do callouts for other scammers in the art community. And so my tinfoil hat theory is maybe Rabby felt a little scared. So Rabby, right after Nadia was called out, and if you guys haven't seen on my channel, Nadia is another really prolific art scammer who had like, again, this is all alleged, but Nadia had like 3 different accounts they were operating under, and they kept claiming that they weren't each other, but they basically got tied into each other, right? I'll also link that below if I remember. It's a massive story with like, I think I made 4 videos about it because they just kept having more accounts appearing. So Rabby DMs being like, hi, I really love your work. And then again, hi, I love your work so much. So Nalo basically writes they felt weird about this comment because again, Nalo is also an art teacher and instructs others on art. So when they made the statement, I love your artwork, that was actually Nalo's students' work. That wasn't Nalo's artwork. So it was already a little odd, but maybe it was a human mistake. So then Rabby continues talking in the DMs to Nalo, which personally, as a content creator, that sometimes just happens. Like, I get people talking to themselves in my DMs all the time. I really wish I could reply to everyone individually and give you guys the time of day. I really wish I could. At the end of the day, I'm one person and I do have a job and other responsibilities and, so life doesn't allow that, unfortunately. But, I read them sometimes and it's like cute and I'll like them when I can. And I'll reply if I can. But here, Rabby is giving a ginormous spiel, apparently. Wow. So Nalo had apparently put on their story, a post being like, hey, don't ask me to call out any other scammers, it's a lot of work for me. And then Rabby writes a really large, like, personal sob story, I guess, in response to that story. So Rabby says, okay, there's a real person I know who is a victim of an AI witch hunt and it destroyed her whole livelihood. And she doesn't even have money to afford the therapy. And she was not even using AI. I think it's causing more harm than it should. Human beings can be so mean, which, I agree with. People are really mean sometimes. But Rabby continues, I got to know your account when you were against AI. I was happy to see you taking steps, making efforts, but then it snowballed and allegations destroy people's livelihoods. I'm a fan of your art and I think you should put your reputation first because whenever there's any false allegations, only Nalo comes in their mind. take care of yourself. Like, I don't know. I personally think this is like an interesting statement to make. I got to know your account when you were against AI. I was happy to see you taking steps, but then a snowball, da da da. Maybe this is like me, right? To me, this reads a little bit parasocial, where it's like, oh, I'm like a huge fan, and then you did this thing that betrayed me, your fan that you don't know exists. So how dare you? You know, I sometimes get DMs like that, and it's just very interesting because it's like, I don't know you and you don't know me. But people are allowed to have their feelings at the end of the day. But it always gets interesting when it ends up being a very, very large one-sided essay in the DMs. Rabby continues engaging with Nalo's posts, where Rabby writes, very pretty, but I miss your old art style, Heart. This is a bit flat. Okay, that is a really passive-aggressive comment. I don't know Rabby's intentions at the end of the day. But if you leave a comment like this under somebody's anything, right? Like, oh, your current art is pretty, but I miss your old art. Or, oh, your current hair is pretty, but your old hair was prettier. Like, can it be a true statement? Can you truly believe, okay, maybe the old hair was prettier, maybe the old art was prettier? Sure, you're entitled to your opinions. Where it gets weird is if you start leaving backhanded statements, backhanded compliments under people's posts. You know, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Especially with the criticism at the end, like, this is a bit flat. Who asked? Okay. And Nalo writes, I deleted the comment and left it at that. And by the way, it's an unspoken rule among artists not to give unsolicited critiques unless somebody asks for it first. I feel like that's just in life too. You know, oh, well, like, your eyeliner is a little funny looking today. Like, your makeup is pretty, but your eyeliner is a little crooked. Like, you should do it thinner next time. Hello? If I wanted to do it thinner, I would have, okay? Or maybe I tried and then it got thick. But leave me and my eyeliner alone. Me saying this because my eyeliner is crooked today. But Nalo adds, as an art mentor myself, I was really appalled. But once again, I ultimately decided not to call her out on proper art etiquette. If only she left it at that, then I would have never found out that she had created the scammer account, Delilah Monroe. Ooh, I love it. It's always so funny when people dig their own graves. I've seen you commenting, Rabby. So Nalo talks about their call out on Delilah. Again, I gave you a TLDR. Nalo gave a big call out on it, but these are really AI generated backgrounds. Okay, so more call outs, more call outs. And at the very end, Nalo had put this post. Here is a vetting process for authors and commissioners. You know, ask 4 to 6 trustworthy artists, search the artist's name, ask artists' previous clients, you know, but these are, in my opinion, really helpful tips, right? These are great ways that if you are uncertain about an artist that you want to work with, that you can maybe verify the artist to see if they're legitimate or not. But yeah, read it in its entirety because there is a lot of disclaimers. I found that it was written very inclusively. Personally, reading this, I felt like all the bases were covered here, and this is very well written. And the ending reads, and I don't do these kinds of posts to discourage working with us artists. I do it for educational purposes. And so after that, Rabby got mad. So these are some comments apparently that Rabby left under an author talking about AI scams, where Rabby writes, I feel attention within the bookish community. As an artist who works in other fields, not bookish, I feel like if a certain person is getting too much attention from callouts, they have the best chance to get hired for their talent. And their students, of course. She didn't explicitly state the name, but it feels like they're talking about Nalo, right? Because Nalo is also an art teacher. But I cannot ignore the personal agenda though. Very bad situation for new, real human artists to even get their first commission. Not because of Nalo, but because of AI. Other people are like, what are you talking about right now? Rabby continues, I feel so bad to be honest, but when Nalo said in the recent call-out post that you should double, triple check with other authors and illustrators before hiring a bookish artist, it made me wonder how will it affect the livelihood of new artists who are trying to start out. As an educator, I worry about new artists so much. And then other people were in defense, kind of going back and forth. Rabby says, I always encourage my students to start small and slowly build. Starting small means reaching out to people who are actively seeking any creative problem to be solved. I'm from a country where right now art marketing education is very limited, so I'm doing my best. And I don't get any monetary profit from it. I am helping artists from my country for free. Rabby is also from Pakistan. This will be revealed later. The thing that bothers me is that she said to search them on social media. Not all artists are everywhere. To me, this reads really defensive. Now, this could be my personal bias because I know how the story is going to end. But look, sometimes things can be true and also be unfortunate for a group. Does that make sense? As in, I personally think what Nalo said is completely true. Yeah, if you want 4 new people trying to commission artists, this is just how it's going to work. The more people the artist has worked with, the more reviews they have. That means it's more likely they are vetted. That's just a fact. Is it truly unfortunate for new artists to try to get work because you don't have an existing portfolio or an existing set of clientele? Of course. And of course that sucks. And of course it's difficult. But it's just a true statement that can be uncomfortable in this day and age. It's with everything. You know, if you start a brand new small business selling Swedish candy, I don't know, I just been getting a lot of Swedish candy ads, right? And there's zero reviews, of course you're gonna have a harder time getting people to buy your Swedish candy versus insert really big Swedish candy brand with like 1,000 people purchasing from it a day. Because they have the clientele, the repertoire, and the reviews to back them up, it will just make them look more credible. You can be extremely credible with your brand new business, but until you get the reviews and stuff, it's just gonna be a little harder. But that's just how it goes at the end of the day. Everybody who started their small business, their art career, whatever, had to go through the period of it's hard to find clients and stuff because you don't have existing work. And there are ways around it. If you are a new artist and you're trying to, you know, put yourself out there and you are concerned, right, that it might be a little bit harder. First of all, I don't want you to be discouraged whatsoever because there are still plenty of people willing to work with new artists, but there are ways around it. You can post speed paints videos of just fan art work that you've done, etc., basically showing, hey, I can make amazing artwork. I can make a lot. And then when you're working with new clients for the first time, there's things you can do. You know, you could do free art for like maybe one or two friends or something, and then have your friends kind of like help you with a little vouch as like a, hey, trust me, you know, these, I've worked with these people and they can verify I could complete the commission on time. Or, you know, you can offer a discount to new clients. Like, hey, I'm building my portfolio, looking for new clients. I know, you know, because I'm a new artist, I'll give you a discount. So it's like a win-win in both regards. There's ways around it. I don't think it's as doom and gloom. You know, you're allowed to be frustrated about circumstances, but I also don't think it's fair to start like name calling out other people that you feel is like directly contributing in your head to the situation, because I don't really think that's true. But, you know, that's just me. Nalo in the post writes, I found it irritating because it felt like she was twisting my words. I never said people shouldn't commission new artists. In fact, I've personally vetted several smaller artists. As long as there's enough artwork available, they can be vetted. You don't need industry connections. Yep, absolute facts. Like what I said, if you have existing artwork and you can show you can complete stuff on time, right, then you're fine. It reads, some people told me it's probably jealousy. Personally, I'm not a fan of simply calling someone jealous, but I couldn't come up with a much better explanation for why she would try to question my credibility or smear me. Me personally, throwing in some 2 cents, okay, as an outsider observing, I do think it's jealousy. But I do think it also is like a second issue where there are situations at the end of the day where there's people who are unable to take responsibility for the state of life they're currently in. And so they seek to blame everything around them except themselves. And that can be a fine way of existing if it makes you happy, until it starts affecting other people when you start yapping around like this, right? Because on my TikTok page, I do like creator education stuff. There's people who are like, I never get views because the algorithm hates me. The algorithm is just, you know, the 100 million or whatever fuck people on TikTok scrolling and swiping. If they swiped away from your video, it means your video sucks. And it sucks to hear that. But the next step should be, okay, well, like, it's not the end of the world. How can we improve our videos? But there's some people where like you just can't talk sense into them. They're just like, no, the algorithm hates me. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you try posting other videos? Well, I can't because like I don't know how to edit. How about you try learning how to edit? No, but editing is hard, okay? What if you hire an editor? No, but I have no money to hire an editor. What do you want me to tell you at this point, okay? So anyways, there's just some people where they want to blame everybody else except them. So this can be a situation where because the person is maybe dissatisfied with the current amount of commissions they're getting, they're blaming anything else. And in this case, a social media post that wasn't even what it said, you know? It's the whole pancake and waffles thing, you know, where it's like, yeah, I don't like pancakes. Oh, you say you hate waffles then? No, I never said I hate waffles. I said I don't like pancakes. But you hate waffles. And, you know, we got some more comments, right? And so Nalo talks about, you know, the callouts and how they relate to their personal growth and commissions. And they said they only got one commission actually from it. And that they're allowed to highlight whomever they want on their account and whatever they want. And that they also have series highlighting positive artists. I think it's very interesting too, because they also say nothing against anti-AI callouts, but when a certain person's getting the whole community's attention and says don't trust or hire a new artist account, it makes me feel like there's a personal agenda. I again think it's very interesting because most, if not all, of the callouts that I've seen, right, maybe there's one or two that differs, there's an insane amount of substantial evidence proving that the person was a scammer. I feel like the general thought process would be like, oh yay, a scammer got caught. But now we get some more juicy stuff, right? So again, Nalo was like, I'm not gonna deal with any of that. And then they start talking to their friend about Delilah. And the friend said that Delilah also seems to be from Pakistan. Now I wanna add a huge disclaimer, okay? I don't wanna see any racism towards Pakistani people, etc. Okay, this is just a circumstance where both allegedly two different people, but possibly not, artists are from Pakistan, you should still commission Pakistani artists. The actions of one or maybe two individuals doesn't determine, the state of an entire group of people. That is just really, really, really small fishbowl level thinking. So I just want to add that. Same thing with the Indonesian black market art scammers, the JRU hub that we talked about. Okay, you should still commission Indonesian artists. I hope you get what I'm saying. I just don't want to see any of this like weird stuff in the comments. Not cool at all to be saying stuff like that. But pointing out that they're both from the same country in this case does draw a connection in the sense that there's not as many Pakistani artists on the English side of social media than there are like American artists. You know what I mean? It was again the same thing with the JRU hub where it was like, interestingly, that all of these scammers seem to be from the same two cities in Indonesia. Getting a little interesting now. But yeah, I just wanted to add that disclaimer in it. Now let's delve into the very, very damning looking evidence here. So we have this post from Delilah. It is a reel where Delilah is drawing. Now again, like I mentioned prior, Delilah draws with acrylic markers as well. Here you can see Delilah is drawing with acrylic markers, and then Delilah is drawing on a really, really scratched up black table. There are a couple acrylic buckets full of, art supplies like Micron pens, etc. There is a small white round vase with what looks like plastic flowers in it, and there is a black zip-up bag with 80 different acrylic markers in it. And there is a little easel here, like a really, really, really tiny little easel. And this is Rabbi's desk. Rabbi posted their setup. And look at their setup, okay? Here we can see the close-up. There is a black scratched up desk. There is that white flower pot with fake white flowers in it. The acrylic buckets with the Micron pens, and there's paintbrushes here. And then there is this easel, this mini easel. And the background is this red wall, and you can see the red wall here. And it reads, both desks are super scratched up. The drawing material is the same. The plant and vase is the same, and both of them have that small easel, a red wall, and the art style kind of fits Rabbi's too. Is it the same person? And it reads, and so I dug, because what if Delilah just simply stole a video from Rabbi? But no, Rabbi never posted that speed painting that is on Delilah's account. It means it's the original post. And then Nalo found more. So Rabbi has a broadcast channel that was opened a week ago, and she's talking about the Delilah called out. It is written in what looks like Arabic, and it was translated. So obviously, again, disclaimer, translations aren't always correct, right? Because there's going to be nuance and intention that's missing. So the first beginning of the translation kind of talks about the whole call out, etc. What's interesting is Rabbi says, after investigating everything, I realized one thing. The artist definitely has talent. They're a good artist. But using AI like this is not okay. I honestly don't think this is a real individual. It feels like it might be an account run by a software company. They probably have several people operating it. The way the account talks doesn't feel like an artist talking. It feels very calculated. It seems like they worked all night and then suddenly appeared in the morning claiming to be Pakistani or Indian using a Desi accent to gain trust. In my opinion, they have damaged the reputation of many people. Because of this account, everybody had to face consequences. I think this is really interesting because okay, just from like a psychological perspective, okay? If somebody was blatantly exposed to be a scammer, allegedly, but and you admit that they are scamming because you say, I was convinced AI had been used. So why in your next breath do you say, this artist definitely has talent? They're a good artist. Who the fuck cares if they have talent or no talent or whatever? The end result is, though, they were scamming people out of a bunch of money, hundreds of dollars, in fact. It's weird to be complimenting a scammer. I just find that odd. And Rabbi continues, I also use AI myself in my work. Okay, Rabbi. If you use AI for assistance, that's okay. But if you use AI to build credibility and become famous, that's where the problem starts. Nobody knows how many orders the account has taken. If it turns out AI-generated work was sold as original art, then people will start boycotting others too, and innocent artists will suffer. I feel like there's a lot to unpack here. Maybe some nuance was lost during the translation, which could be possible. So you admit that you're an artist who uses AI in your work. Okay, so we already have that. Okay, so then you're okay with AI assistance. And of course you're gonna be okay with it if you do it yourself. But it's only an issue if you use it to become famous. So it's like fine if you scam people with AI as long as you didn't get famous off doing it. I'm just genuinely very confused. And then what is this statement about people will start boycotting innocent artists? I don't think anybody's boycotting innocent artists, dude. People are boycotting scammers. The people who were explicitly caught red-handed, irrefutable proof that they were tracing over AI. Yes, we're boycotting these people. Look, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. I'm not your mom, okay? I don't support generative AI, nor do I want to buy from people who've used generative AI. If you want to use it in your art process, I can't control it. But the least that I ask is for you to be honest, okay? And if you call yourself an artist and don't explicitly label everything as AI generated that you're doing, if you're using AI in your process, in my opinion, you're being deceptive. Rabbi continues, right? Rabbi says, let me make one thing clear. I am only against generative AI. I'm not against AI tools used for normal purposes or for research. I use those myself every month. Everything I've done has brought me to this opinion. Using AI for advice, strategies, research, or productivity is fine, but using generative AI to create images, videos, or artwork presenting it as your own is wrong. Okay, so maybe that I also use AI myself in my work is a translation issue. Like maybe they mean I use assistive AI like grammar check, which like that's chill. I don't know. We'll see in the future, guys, because there's some more damning evidence coming out that will likely disprove the anti-generative AI statement. But she goes on and on and on, talks about free resources and all that. Nalo points out that quotes, I'm not against AI tools used for normal purpose, blah, 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 blah. Which again, it gets a little messy. Potentially translation error, right? Just you lose some nuance there. There are multiple sites where she lists herself as an NFT artist. Interesting. NFTs do have their own rep. At the end of the day, I think NFTs are also a scam. But there are some artists who have done NFT work because essentially, like, in the art space, it's hard to find jobs. And sometimes you're just kind of cornered into it and you're like, okay, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta make some money. Like the only offer I have is an NFT offer. I don't think it's the greatest thing, but sometimes you're not always in a position to decline jobs. So that is one thing to keep in mind. I'm trying to be fair, but Rabbi has a lot of posts on their page, just a post on their Twitter page where they are, shaming scammers for their scam practices, Some more evidence. Okay, let's take a little more look. This is some artwork Delilah sent privately to an anonymous person. This is Delilah's artwork, okay? We can see it's a woman with red curly hair. But this is artwork that was posted to Rabbi's page. That same woman, that same red hair. And it's literally the same video. As you can see, there's the sketchbook in the back. Now, the difference is on Rabbi's page, there's text across the screen that actually blocks the woman's face, as you can see here. So somehow, Delilah got her hands on the original footage prior to adding TikTok text over it. How did you get that? That disproves any possible theory of Delilah stealing Rabbi's artwork. Because how do you steal a video that wasn't posted? And some might make the argument, oh, what if they used AI to remove the text? I don't see any AI artifacts around the eye, which is where the text blocked. The text literally blocked one eyeball. So Rabbi's whole page is about earning money, being an artist and earning money, which I think is good to talk about. And then somebody had asked, why do you draw? And Rabbi responds, money in all caps. There is an age difference as well. Delilah claims to be 22, where Rabbi claims to be 27. So next up, Rabbi uses a service to send out PayPal invoices, where her statement about it is pretty inconsistent. There's one post where she talks about making money as a creator and that since PayPal isn't available in Pakistan, she uses Payoneer, but if they insist on PayPal, she uses a trusted family friend's accounts and gives them a cut. And then in reply to somebody else who was asking for payment services, she says she uses PayPal. It reads a little contradictory. Maybe she's talking about using it in the context of the family friend. I'm not sure. But Nalo writes, of course, some artists use their real name for invoices, so the name may differ from their online username. But if you commission the same artist multiple times and the name or addresses change every single time, that's a red flag. And I agree, because why is it changing that frequently? This is a screenshot of OpenAI where Delilah's artwork was put into OpenAI and a synth ID was found, which is a watermark embedded into AI images to flag, hey, is this AI generated or not? And it ends reading, well, this was heavy. I want to remind everyone that this is very rare and scammers usually don't have a genuine looking art account like this. So please don't lose your trust in artists because of one case. This scammer simply happens to be far more special than your typical scammer. And also, it re-emphasizes don't slide into their DMs, demanding the next call out and to stay respectful towards people, and that people considering taking classes from that person deserves to make an informed decision. People in the comments are notably shocked. A user says, damn, if she put as much work into bettering her art as she did scamming people, she would be swimming in commission requests right now. So what does Rabbi have to say? Well, Rabbi had like a little tirade on Threads, being like, hear me out. Threads was too toxic for art last time I checked. All the artists follow me. What's your biggest problem? As a human artist who does art all day long for a living, what is wrong with y'all indie authors? Why accuse small artists of AI without knowing anything about art? For the love of God, why is Threads so toxic? And then Rabbi had a post. This is Rabbi, not Delilah. This is an explanation post where I'm explaining why the accusations on me from Nalo that I'm scamming people are wrong. One, I've been active on social media from 2016, and I wanted to start content creation in 2025. I used to post my art on WhatsApp statuses before I decided to make a public account. After giving birth to my daughter, I started giving Pakistani artists some useful tips on how to become good at art. I don't monetize on helping people. In recent times, while I've been working and posting my art on WhatsApp statuses, a person who I don't know somehow got my number and reached out to make a quick sketch. He said it should be quick and he'd pay me right after the sketch is completed. He needed a paper I've been sketching as well, but he wanted to see the image first, so I made it. He told me to write Delilah, and I didn't think of it much. So I made this and sent it to them. They received that and blocked me and didn't pay me. I had the physical drawing on paper, so I thought, what a bummer. I got scammed. And then I see the post related to Delilah, and I read Nalo's post and I disagreed with some of her points, so I spoke my mind on the same day. I tried to check Delilah's account, but she made it private. And on her thread, I couldn't find her post. She'd blocked me already. I had glanced over her art one time, but none of my art was in her feed or story. I didn't see them. Maybe she manually blocked me from seeing it, I don't know. Every traditional art I posted on my TikTok or my WhatsApp statuses have been stolen and are being saved. One post from January 2026. They've been stealing from me silently for so long and made a whole library of it. And yes, I'm saying they because I believe there's multiple persons acting as one. And I know as a Pakistani influencer who's now public with her face out and everything, this is going to be so difficult for me because if that's a scammy local organization, they will hurt me. I know. My art, my identity, my whole reputation has been dragged into the mud. All the screenshot names, numbers will be shared with the person who DM'd me on Insta. Last but not least, there are several people saying Arsalan Iqbal is my relative because I have the same last name. Come on, like seriously, this is the most common surname. So let's unpack this here. I always think it's very interesting because a lot of times when scammers get caught, they make up a big sob story of how they're gonna be harmed. And maybe it's true, but I've seen this so many times where I want to be empathetic, but I'm getting jaded, you know? Because what are the odds you have a scammy local organization that's gonna hurt you because you post art online? I covered another story where somebody had like a neighbor that was doing a drug trafficking ring that also involved other scary stuff and that they were gonna come for them too. And hello, I'm sorry if that is true. But a lot of times this is used as a manipulation tactic where it's like, whoa, feel bad for me. Now you can't say anything bad for me because like you're going to contribute to the imaginary harm that I'm going to fall under. Now, secondly, this story is so absurd. You posted art on WhatsApp and somebody contacted you to make a sketch and sign it as if your name was Delilah. And then you mailed it without receiving payment first? You know, people get scammed all the time. I've been scammed, you know, so I'm not necessarily going to fault you for not seeing this through. But wouldn't the common sense line of thinking be, hey, I finished the sketch, here's a picture to prove I finished it, send me money, and then I mail it. So I just find that part of it odd, alongside what a coincidence of a story. And even if this were a true story, then there should only be one instance of your artwork looking the same as Delilah's. That's not even a thing that happened. Because the really damning one is this one, the acrylic marker drawing of the woman with red hair, where Delilah has the original video and you are the one with the exact same video with text over it. So if the order happened in the way that it looks like, this is telling me that Delilah has the original video and that you somehow got that video from Delilah and then passed it off as your own. Again, this is all hypothetical. These two, it's the same person LARPing Delilah, okay? And a commenter says, quote, yeah, this guy commissioned me and asked me to write Delilah. He goes to another school, by the way, so I don't know, that was weird, but guys, I promise it's totally not me, end quote. Wild levels of mental gymnastics for real, which I agree. And another user says, I had a hunch, so I went to double check. Just an additional proof, since she's claiming those traditional art videos were stolen. Rabbi's hand versus Delilah's. This is Rabbi's hand. Rabbi has a mole on this side of the arm, on the right hand. Delilah has that same mole on their hand. What are the freaking odds? I will also add, there's other elements you can look at to see the similarities. The way they hold their pencil is the same. There's people who will hold it similarly, you know, but like, what are the odds both of you guys apparently have used a PayPal address with the same last name, have the same mole on your hand, have that same video that both of you guys posted, one privately in DMs to somebody and one publicly to your page, and both of you guys hold your pencils the exact same way like this. And one thing to note, look at the index finger. They have a really strong like bend in it. They have like a hyperflexion in the first digit of their index finger. Like I cannot do that with my finger. I can't get that level of a bend. I was trying. I was like, how do they bend it like that, man? And you can see that too here. on Delilah's hand. And another user in the comments adds even more evidence, writing, I did this in case you want more stuff. One side is Delilah and the other one is Rabia, aka Robbie. Also, Delilah's screenshots are from proof of authenticity posts on Threads. So if those are Rabia's, Delilah doesn't have a single process video. So look at the side by side. The left we have Delilah, the right we have Robbie, okay? It's labeled A. They use the same brand of colored pencils. You can see the colored pencils on Delilah's page here are also featured here. Now looking at B, we've got the Apple Pencil. D is like the pose of the hand as they're pressing their hand down as they draw. You can see that. And then here we have D, the way they hold their pen. And a commenter says, my time to shine as a nail tech who's done literally nothing else but stare at fingers for the past 10 years. Those are 1000% the same hands. Here we have Rabbi with a video on their page talking about Faber-Castell Polychromos, okay? It's a color pencil brand, which is literally also the brand that Delilah claims to use. No AI, just me, alcohol markers, and polychromos. Here you can see Rabbi drawing with the alcohol markers, right? Look at these alcohol markers. Take a look at the design, okay? It is also the same brand of alcohol markers that Delilah uses. The exact same one, and look at the way they draw. The way they color it is the same. But in the comments of that post, the original poster writes, update, the video on the right mysteriously disappeared from the Delilah account just now. Now another person adds, wait, in response to Buddy down below, I noticed something. Delilah shared this stolen piece from Rabbi on June 28th. The screenshots from Rabbi says she sent them to a scammer on July 5th. So how did Delilah... I don't know what my cats are doing out there, but back to business. It says, so how did Delilah manage to get them before they were even sent to the scammer? So this is what Delilah posted June 28th. And this was what Robbie posted. So Robbie was like, well, by digital art, it was my hand, my recording. I was paid to provide the speed paints. And here's the proof that I delivered it July 5th. So you can see it says July 5th, 2026. Where apparently Robbie sends this over. And it says, I worked with this person in the past, and he seemed very nice. He said his client thinks his artist is using AI, so he wanted me to do the whole art and screen record it since the other artist is unable to provide it. And I said, okay. I was paid 4 times. I was grateful. So wait, now I'm really confused. So Delilah posted that finished piece somehow a week before you were contracted to deliver this video. And this speed paint and the finished piece, you said you completed it July 5th, but Delilah posted it a week ago. Do you think we're dumb? Another person says, my favorite part so far is when she demanded people go find her Kidlit on Amazon, and when you search, the first result is an AI-assisted book where they admit they used Midjourney specifically, which is only image generation. Where this is by Rabia, and it's a series of AI-assisted books titled My Mama is ... a doctor. And another commenter says, right, one she claims isn't hers, but then on Kindle there's 16 books that come up under her name that she did confirm was hers. After she said she doesn't work with the book community, because remember, Robbie said, as an artist who works in other fields, not booking. Okay, so you don't work in the book space, but you have 16 books published on Kindle. But if you go to the Kindle page, it literally says, prompt engineering and prompt design for this book was written by Rabia Iqbal and Jason Byrne. Artificial intelligence tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and Midjourney assisted in the content creation. And it says generative AI tools. Oh, okay. But I thought here, in your voice recording that was translated, you say, I am only against generative AI. But Robbie claims that book is not theirs. Robbie, in reply to somebody at Threads, was like, ever heard about children books and Kidlit? Write Rabia Iqbal and Amazon KDP and you'll see all my books. And somebody found them and she says, no, that's not me. But benefit of doubt, maybe these ones belong to her. There's a couple children's books with a lot of different looking art that is linked to Rabia Iqbal as an illustrator. This is one of them. Here we have another one, which this one I find really funny actually, because looking at this, I thought this was the book on a blue background, but then somebody posted a photo and that is actually the cover. Like the square and the blue background is the book cover. But it's just odd because if you search up Rabia Iqbal, both comes up. The children book I just showed you and the My Mama is a Doctor one. So an author comes out saying, hi, hello, it's me, the one who provided a crap ton of screenshots to Nalo. I wasn't going to make a post because I wanted to stay anonymous. However, I saw people talking about this particular part and I wanted to speak plainly. On an invoice for a commission that was sent to a friend of mine, the payment was made to a Mohammed Arslan Iqbal. I'm only using this name publicly because Rabi already has. Prior to Rabi's post on Threads yesterday, I reached out to Delilah, someone I've spoken to already on several occasions. I felt lied to. I wanted answers. I straight up asked her why that name would be on an invoice she sent to an author if she was not Robbie. She played dumb. So OP says, to Delilah, why did you use a PayPal account under the name Muhammad Arslan Iqbal, a relative of Rabia's, for an invoice you sent to a customer? Delilah says, I don't even know who Rabia is. And OP says, you don't know your own art? Delilah says, it was saved in my gallery, I misclicked. I haven't shared that one with anyone else. And OP continues, it was after this I decided to put Delilah and Robbie in a group chat together. Y'all have seen how that went down. Delilah didn't stay in the chat for long. It was mainly Robbie and me talking. This is what I said to Robbie. So Robbie was like, oh, I'm very hurt. I inspire young artists from Pakistan and I work for them for free. I don't have a course and I want to help people. And OP again says, do you know why Delilah would use a PayPal account with your last name? And Robbie says, babe, Rabia redacted. My husband's name is redacted and my father's name is redacted. My brother's name is redacted. Iqbal is a most common surname. It's like accusing a Smith because another person is Smith. Well, on myheritage.com, Iqbal was recorded 98,000 times, and it highlights that it has become a common surname in Pakistan and India. And OP continues, Robbie then let me know she made a post on Threads to clear her name, and I realized that I never said Arsalan to her. I had only mentioned that name to Delilah. She even worded it the same way I did in my message to Delilah, where again, she says here, right? Some people saying Arslan Iqbal is my relative because I have the same last name. But we can see in the DMs, right? Muhammad Arslan Iqbal was the name mentioned to Delilah up here. Where in the group chat with Robbie, OP just says, do you know why I should use a PayPal account with your last name? And I mean, it is redacted, so we don't know Rabia's full name, but this is definitely not enough space to put Arslan Iqbal in here. There's definitely just not enough room. And OP continues, this is honestly all I'm willing to say on the matter. Believe her or not, the fact of the matter is that Delilah is a scammer. I just wanted to help authors get their money back. It's already hard enough out here for indies. But also, I'm not going to sit back while others are, as I believe, manipulated by Robbie. She demanded that I make a statement clearing her name. She demanded that I force Nalo to apologize. I will not do such a thing and will only present the facts. And another person responded, she demanded me too. I guess in terms of that public statement clearing the name. So yeah, to wrap this all up, Robbie deleted their Threads account. At least the name maybe has changed. I can't find it anymore. They're still active on other socials though. Again, don't send hate or bully anybody involved, but what are your thoughts on this situation? Do you think they are the same person? Do you think it is an unfortunate situation where the two videos that Robbie made somebody that was stolen was sent to Delilah as a scam situation? I'm curious about your thoughts at the end of the day. And again, please don't let this be something that discourages you from commissioning other artists, especially Pakistani artists. The actions of one individual doesn't represent the entire country's worth of people. So, you know, I don't want to see any of that funny business. And the author that actually provided Nalo a lot of the screenshots has a really cool thread where, you know, Pakistani artists were self-recommending themselves under there. I will also have that linked in my comment section if you would like to check out some cool artists. So yeah, again, I would love to hear your thoughts and theories about what happened, because after seeing the update, I literally was like, what the heck? I was visiting my grandma in the hospital, and then, you know, I was like scrolling on my phone for a little bit because she fell asleep. And I was like, what is this unfolding on my phone right now? I was like, I need to drive back and then talk about this. Came back down to LA, and now we're recording. So yeah, my grandma's stable. Hopefully she can recover quickly, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, with that, check me out on Etsy or Coffee. I have free resources there for streamers and creators, and I'm trying to grow my Instagram. I'm trying to get to 100k. It's wishful thinking. I'm like 7k off, but you know, if you want to follow my Instagram at catliente.ttv, go check me out there, and I hope to catch y'all in another video. Peace.